Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel, or maybe welcome for the very first time, either way. I'm super excited today to introduce you to something brand new that I think is going to seriously level up the way you manage your information. Say hello to Docmost. That's DOCMOST. Think of it as your personal own superpowered wiki or document manager that's not just for storing files. We're talking about creating interconnected pages, building knowledge bases, and best of all, collaborating with your team or even just yourself in a really intuitive way. Now, if you've ever felt overwhelmed by scattered documents or wish you had a simple way to organize all your thoughts and information, Docmost is here to change all that. It's incredibly easy to deploy, meaning you can get up and running in a couple of minutes, but the real magic happens when you start creating. Imagine being able to build out pages and subpages for absolutely anything you need: project notes, recipes, research, personal journals. The possibilities are endless. And with the advanced editor built right in, you've got tons of options to customize those pages exactly how you want them. We're talking formatting, embedding media, code blocks, YouTube videos, and so much more. So if you're ready to ditch the document chaos and embrace a smarter, more collaborative way to manage your information, then stick around. In this video, we're going to take a closer look at Docmost and show you just how powerful and easy it is to use. So let's dive in. So this is the Docmost GitHub repository. If we look, we've got 12.9 thousand stars. It's been forked over 609 times, and 57 people are currently watching the progress intently on this. If we go down further, you'll see that it's had over 24 releases, going back to June 29th, 2024. So this has had some serious active development. Docmost basically says that it's a open source alternative to Confluence and Notion. So if you've used any of those, you can kind of get an idea of what this is. But even if you haven't, think of it as kind of like your wiki slash knowledge base type of thing. So looking down the features here, we've got real-time collaboration, diagrams, it has an inbuilt draw IO, an Excali draw, and Mermaid. It's got something called Spaces. It's got great permissions management, groups, comments, page history, search, file attachments. You can embed things like YouTube videos, Airtable, Loom, Micro, and more. And it's translated in over 10 languages. Some screenshots here will give you exactly the different type of things that you can do with it. And then the Docmost core is licensed under the open source AGPL 3.0 license. But let's just jump into deploying this and getting this up on our system. I've already got a kind of version of this here that I set up briefly, just kind of covering some knowledge base on my network. I'm planning to put a few things in here on disaster recovery and the restoration of backups. But you could literally use this for absolutely any. You could use it as a wiki, you could use it as a knowledge base, you could use this just to edit documents and things like that. But some of the cool things that I really do like about it is, for example, it says you can write anything here, but if you press /, you'll get a list of commands. If we do that, you'll see just how many different add-ons you can put into your wiki pages. So you can have all sorts of different heading formats, bullet point lists, numbered lists, quotes, code blocks, dividers, images, videos, files. And again, when we bind mount this in our compose file, this will upload those type of things to wherever we want on our system. You could toggle blocks, callouts. You can have mathematics in here. One of the really cool things I love on here is the draw.io diagram app, which you can have built in here. It comes all as standard. You don't have to do any tweaking. So when we've selected that, we can just double click this and it will literally open the editor up straight in front of your eyes. And at which point then you can go ahead and start creating cool objects and connections and things like that, which I think are really, really cool. And then we can click save and exit, and it will put that straight into your document, which I think is really cool, including the fact that it auto crops that as well. But again, there are other things. As soon as you press that /, you put to-do lists in here, text blocks, dates, Airtable, Loom, Figma, Typeform, Micro. So let's look at the Typeform, and you can put your Typeform link in there to embed it in there for you as well. the list just goes on. YouTube videos. So if we go to YouTube, say I wanted to put my latest video in here. And we can go back to the page, put the link in, and that's how the pages work. Simple as that. So let's jump into it. The first thing you're going to want to do is grab the compose file. Now, I will have everything in the link in the description below so that you don't have to go too far from this. So if I copy all of this information, and I'm using Dockage, by the way, if that's what you're looking at, you're thinking, oh, what is that? It's kind of an alternative to Portainer. I've been using it for a long time. You don't have to follow this verbatim. You can actually just copy the compose file and put it into whatever you're currently using, Portainer, compose file, YAML files, whatever you want to do like that, you can do that. So if we create a new one, and all we do basically is we paste the compose file in here, and we can start messing around with it. One of the things that you may notice off the bat is that I have changed a few things from the original. Now, I do implore you to change your app secret. I certainly will be, but I am using this on an internal-only domain. I have a video for that if you'd like to go and work out how to do that. But the app secrets, yeah, you can just bash in here anything you want. Make sure it's nice and long and completely there. You can create, if you're going to reverse proxy this like I am, put the URL in here as well. One thing that it didn't have in the compose file off the bat that I added was the PUID and GUID, because I fell into a problem where when I was uploading files to my pages, it would error out. When looking at the logs, it was a permissions error. So I thought, maybe it's not actually running this. If you don't put the PUID and GUID in, it runs as a user called node instead of your user. So just be careful with that. The other thing that I've done here is I've changed some of the service names, only because if you look at networks, you'll see npm default. That's my Nginx proxy manager. Now, for the compose that you're going to pull from the link below, I've taken that out. But essentially, what I'm doing here is I'm running all my apps on my self-hosted server here through Nginx Proxy Manager, but in a way that doesn't allow you to access the individual apps via port IP and port number. So that's a little bit going off on a tangent there. But if you're wondering why I've changed some of this, like Redis, the service Redis, for example, I've changed it to Redis Docmost. It's just because otherwise Nginx Proxy Manager might proxy some other applications to the DB, the database, like here, DB Docmost. It was originally DB. Again, I'm going off on a tangent, but I just wanted to kind of throw in some extra information there. So yeah, so all we're really doing here is changing the app build to whatever you're going to reverse proxy it as, if you intend to or not. You don't have to have that in there, that's optional. Change the app secret. If you are going to change certain things, like I have, or just, like I say, I'm going to leave the compose mostly intact so that you don't have to do anything at all. You'll notice because I changed the database to DB Docmost, I had to change the database URL here at the end to @DB Docmost. So again, if you're going to change this back to DB, you'll just make sure you change those things as well. The Redis URL, and I'm just making sure that I've got everything. So I've updated the Redis URL as well to Redis Docmost, because again, I have changed that. And I am going to take out these networks at this point, simply because you guys, it's possible won't have the network set up like that anyway. So I'm just going to get rid of that. So this will run it on the default bridge. I'm also going to change the path on my system because I'm already using one. So if I do KL Tech videos and just update that across here, that looks good to me. We're going to reopen these ports here. Okay, so everything looks good. Again, what you're going to be doing is editing the app URL, app secret, and making sure that the database password, whatever you choose, matches up with the password here, between the @ and the colon, which it should. I'm going to change mine, obviously, when I've done with this, but you change yours too. So that looks good to me. At that point, we can literally just hit the start button, which will deploy these tools and deploy Docmost. And of course, I've got it under the EV. There we go. Oh, yes, I will have a cuppa. Thank you very much, Becky. And in fact, we do need to quickly edit that because I already have this running on that domain. So if I do Docmost KL Tech videos, even though that's a ridiculously long URL now, it's just for the purposes of this video. This is my internal domain. I'm going to redeploy that. I'm going to go into Nginx Proxy Manager. I'm going to paste that in here. It's going to be running on port 3000, but that's going to be on there. 192.168.1.2 is my server IP. Port 3000 is where we're going to be running that there. WebSocket supports are a must for this project. We're going to block common exploits. I'm going to keep it internal only. That means just to my VLAN. And we're going to put this behind SSL. That looks good. Now, I probably am going to need to open the firewall rules for this. So if I do try and go to this domain, as I thought, it's not being able to hit that. So if I go to here, I get SSH into the server, sudo uncomplicated firewall allow port 3000. That rule is now added. And now Docmost is working. So at this point, you can literally go ahead then and choose your workspace name. I'm going to do KL Tech Videos. My name is Keith Lewis. Put your email address. It doesn't appear to use that for anything in particular. And then a password, I suppose. So it could be anything you want. I'm using Vault Warden, self-hosted here. So if I do my Docmost password that I am actually using. And here we are. We are set up. So quickly going back to the compose file, just to make sure, we've changed the domain, we've changed the app secrets, we've changed the database password, we've changed the directory on the server where everything is saving. So this is essentially Docmost, right? So you've got different spaces that you can belong to, and you can collaborate with other people, or other people can collaborate with your workspaces. If we go into our general, this is kind of the first one that you see. And in this overview here, you literally can search your entire workspace. You can change and customize the settings, so you can add people to your workspace. You can choose the granular control that they have. You can add pages, either by new page here, or you can kind of just go with the flow down here. So if we, for example, click create page, this gives us our first page. And then this is where you can kind of create and like I say, with the / there, add different things like a to-do list. So, you know, project start, you know, an XYZ, you know, etc. And then obviously over time, when you and your team or you or things like that, you could just add and mess around with it. You can add another page at the top level, or you can add a page underneath it like a subpage. And if you drag the pages out, you can actually pop them above and below. So you can kind of move where they are nested on the side panel. Now, if I go over to kind of my already established one, and you can see I've just got dark mode on here because you can actually do that. If we go into the settings menu up here and we go to my preferences, you can actually choose the dark theme, which is a lot more easier on the eyes, and a few other settings in this area, including your profile. You can change your password, things like that. But if we go over to the one that I've already got set up here, you'll see that I've kind of created like a network diagram. And like I said earlier on, one of my things that I'm going to be sort of creating in here is going to be the mapped network of my network, so that I can easily control that. At the moment, I kind of worked on the VLANs and what I've got in my VLANs, saying what ports they're on and IP addresses and subnets and what advanced security settings I've got on here. Just kind of like my IoT network, which with Firewall, or I've used the Firewall SD Wi-Fi card, which is on channel 11 there. Just gives you bits and bobs of information, which is really cool. I created this diagram in Canva, but again, I could have created this in the Excali drawer or the draw.io by doing / down here to draw.io, double click, and I could have done that entire setup, obviously, in draw.io if I wanted to. So there we go. So that's pretty much Docmost. I hope that's given you a good oversight of the different types of things that you can use that for. And I'm sure all of you will have your own cool ideas of what you're going to put in here, your backup and disaster recoveries and things like that. But really, what I wanted to kind of demonstrate with Docmost was how easy it is to deploy, how straightforward the setup actually is. I've set up a few different wiki and document management systems, and they've all been just overly complex to set up. This seems to be really easy and intuitive, and clearly a good way to also share files as well, all bundled up into one system. So you can make it what you want. And I'd just like to give a shout out to the Docmost team because this is an excellent software package. And I'm going to start right there as well. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.